So
Yeah.
video is so valuable that absolutely on the website. It
Hmm.
just, what we're really trying to do is the best job we can conveying a message that would be easy to convey in person. So how
Hmm.
do you match that? The only tool available is video. So video is huge.
Hi everybody. In today's episode, we had with us David Emmons, the owner of the Artist Marketing Formula, a company that helps artists and other specialty business owners utilize the power of the internet and social media marketing to sell online and set up a sustainable online future. In this talk, we covered a lot of tactical best practices about Facebook ads, how to utilize videos and Facebook Lives to increase your profits, and why should artists start an online store even if they think that their products can be sold online.
Welcome to the EcomXFactor podcast, where it's all about launching and scaling your business using sales funnels, automations, and smart marketing. And now, please welcome your host, the founder of EcomXFactor, Yaron Bin.
Hi David, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for allowing me to call you Ron. So I don't have to learn how to pronounce your name. I love that.
Sure, it's my pleasure. It's very hard to pronounce. It's called Yaron, and normally
Love it.
I just tell people, okay, you can call me Ron. It would be the easiest.
You go easy on us Americans, right?
Yeah, no, it's not only the Americans that have a problem with this. I used to live in South America, and
Mhm.
there it was easy because Ron is how they pronounce room, like
Okay,
the drink. So I just
right.
used to say it's like Ron the drink, but tastier. This is what I used to say when I was younger.
Love it. I love it.
Cool. So,
Um,
so how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. I'm fantastic. And yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited for this talk because, as I told you before we went live, there are a very interesting topic for me, especially like how do you sell your own craft and how artists can make money, because many people say that artists are the people that move the world forward. So, and they should be paid. So I'm very
Exactly.
intrigued and excited for this talk. So can you share a bit about your background story and how you got to the online world and basically your background story?
Certainly. Basically, I've been an artist for years, traveling, creating my work and then traveling what we called here in the States, the show circuit, which is, finding the biggest festivals, going somewhere where you can actually sell your work. I mean, that really is what it all boils down to is whether you're purchasing something and drop shipping it or you're creating something and trying to sell it. We all need to find our customers.
Mm-hmm.
So I would travel the country, do 30 to 35 shows a year, selling my work.
Mm-hmm.
And as time went on and the internet came around and it became more and more apparent that people were getting comfortable shopping online, I started migrating my business to online to basically just soften my workload, no more traveling hundreds of miles. And when you do the show circuit, there's so many variables. There's weather, there's attendance, there's,
Mm-hmm.
you can just book the wrong show and have a lousy event. So the online world looked like a place to, number one, free up time for me. Number two, make a kind of a sustainable business that I can count on.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first came into the space, it really was a bunch of unknowns.
Uh-huh.
Can you really make this work? Will people really purchase from you no matter what you create? And a lot of my artists, a lot of my students have these same questions. A lot of people wrongly believe that in order to purchase something, especially art, that you have to see it in person.
Mm-hmm.
And, that couldn't be further from the truth. It certainly helps to see things in person, but it doesn't mean the online world will not work for you.
Mm-hmm.
My God, people sell homes online, they sell automobiles, they sell
Uh-huh.
art. The whole art scene online is exploding, and with
Mm-hmm.
COVID, it really has been exploding. But it's been building steadily for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I came into the online space and basically started cracking the code.
Uh-huh.
Figuring out what works. And then more importantly, I have so much sales background in my 35 years on the road selling to people.
Mm-hmm.
I started understanding why it works. So I was figuring out what works, but it was really intriguing to me to understand why it works.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started, kind of marrying those two things together, that's when everything exploded. And that's why now I teach this stuff. It's amazing.
Cool. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty, because it's very interesting, can you just give me a bit of background? I mean, about which product did you sell, and was it high ticket, low ticket? What was the price range, and what was like the target audience?
Right.
Offline.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the gardening niche. So I create sculptures, but they revolve around plants and people who do gardening and plant related. So I sculpt with, I'm basically a welder, and I work with stained glass. So I'm working with copper, I'm working with stained glass, but I'm absolutely in the gardening niche. So my perfect customer is someone who loves plants, loves flowers. They're interested in interior design. Some of my targeting I target people who attend some of the biggest flower shows in the world. So my price point is right around $100. So it's not super high end. It's not super low end. It's kind of right there in the middle. And it's neat. One of the most beautiful things about online marketing is your ability to get in front of the right people. That's what's so much fun is niching down. And I love targeting for other businesses. It's absolute. I was just working with a student this morning, and I found the perfect category to layer his targeting with, and it blew him away. I'm like, I actually had a dream about it last night. I'm like, it's just perfect. And then I went, quickly went in the back end of Ads Manager to see if it was available, and it was there.
Are we talking about Facebook ads or Google?
Exactly, Facebook ads, but it would be applicable either place.
Yeah, but the majority of like your traffic or the traffic that you teach your students, is it you use Facebook or Google ads? Because it's a different type of customers basically. These ones are like with slow intent, scrolling in Facebook, and the Google people are probably guys who are searching for a certain solution.
Exactly, and there's a couple of dynamics going on there. So I teach primarily Facebook and Instagram advertising, and the reason I do that is because those platforms, or you could look at it as one platform since Facebook owns Instagram, but that platform not only has the targeting capabilities, but it has some other underlying things that are essential to building a community. And one of the things that a lot of marketers don't understand, it's easy for me to understand because I'm an artist and I basically sell my work to people who are fans of what I create. And so that's applicable for any artist, whether you're a songwriter, you're a painter, you're a photographer, you're creating something. And because you are the face behind the brand, people are kind of falling in love with you and what you do. And so they become fans of you and they purchase from you and they tell other people about you. And so that's a wonderful dynamic. And a lot of people wrongly think that it's only applicable to an artist, and it really isn't. If you are an entrepreneur and you are selling whatever, it doesn't matter to me what it is, you can set your marketing up in such a way that people learn how to connect with you and you become the face of the brand. And if you think about it, there's a lot of brands out there that are like this, and you recognize there's a lot of influencers out there who have their brands or they're selling things, and you're connecting with that influencer. When you learn how to do that, when you learn how to connect with fans, when you learn how to look at the marketplace as kind of a fan-artist relationship, all of a sudden the dynamics change in your marketing, and you start growing a community, and that community buys from you, they spread the word about you. And the Facebook platform is a perfect place to grow that community. And so even though you can do things in Google, and yes, people are searching for answers to problems in Google or YouTube, you do your interest targeting on Facebook and grow a community, and you're kind of working this different dynamic that happens inside of marketing. And it's really, people talk about it all the time, the know, like, and trust factor. If you think about what is underlying the know, like, and trust factor, it's really somebody learning how to connect with you, and that's where the relationship thing comes in.
So how would a typical, obviously it varies between every product and market, but how would a typical ads manager in the Facebook would be structured? Would you do like a campaign with only conversions or brand awareness? How would the funnel look like? Can you explain a bit?
Absolutely. What I like to do is, number one, I like to test a lot of audiences.
Mm-hmm.
I like to test a fair amount of creative,
Mm-hmm.
and I sort of test campaigns. But when you set up a campaign, once you start getting familiar with Ads Manager, you right out of the gate, you understand what that campaign is designed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not so much testing, will this campaign be better than this campaign objective? So I typically run a lot of conversion ads. Conversion ads are designed to drive traffic to a landing page or a website for a particular conversion event. Now, that event could be register, it could be add to cart, it could be purchase. I run a lot of purchase conversion campaigns. I also run post engagement campaigns. Those are designed to basically get a lot of engagement on a post. And if you're strategic, and that's a lot of what's in my course in coaching is all about strategy. So when you look at a strategy, let's say you have a strategy where I really want to get a lot of social proof on a given post, and I'm going to turn that post later into a conversion campaign. Okay. And so I would start the ad or I would start the post as a engagement campaign for post engagement, because that's designed to get a lot of engagement. Once I have a lot of engagement, a lot of good social proof, then I'll turn it into a conversion ad. If you turn it into a conversion ad right out of the gate, you don't get a lot of social proof. The social proof really helps you down the road. So if you start as post engagement, then turn it into conversion, you can run an ad for years. I mean, a lot of my ads have been running for years, and they have thousands and thousands of comments on them, all wonderful comments. And so you can imagine if you see that for the first time, you have no idea it's been running for 3 years. You just see there's 3,000 comments on this post. What the heck's going on here? And so that's one of my strategies is to be smart with your marketing. Try and understand what you need to make happen to work. So we all want the purchase conversion. We all want to jump into Ads Manager, set up a purchase conversion ad and just start optimizing for the purchase. But if you're strategic about it, you can start at a lower level, get a lot of engagement, then turn it into conversion. Sometimes you don't have enough conversion events to use a purchase conversion. You've got to do something higher in the funnel, like obviously landing page view is easy to do, but I like to do view content. If you have enough activity, you can do add to cart, something a little deeper in the funnel. But I typically run several campaigns. I like to layer my audiences and then test different layering. There's a lot to really understanding who you're targeting. That's just critical is wrapping your head around who is your customer avatar. What are some of the really unique qualities about them that you could say are not common in anyone else? For me, for my gardening niche, I target all the normal gardening things, but then I'll target things like there's a flower show in England that's real famous to people who understand plants and gardening.
Nice.
And it's called the Chelsea Flower Show. So if you've never heard of it, you're probably not my customer. But if you have heard of it, you're definitely my customer. And so I'll use that as a targeting layer to just really narrow down my niche.
And then you'll send people to the product page necessarily, or maybe the preset page?
Typically a product page. It depends on the campaign. Sometimes I'll send people to the home page of my website. Sometimes I'll send them right to a product page, which is deeper in the site. And it kind of depends on what I'm trying to do and how specific the ad is. A lot of people make the mistake of always sending traffic to the home page of a website. And the problem with that is you're giving your potential customer way too many choices. Now, sometimes it's appropriate. Sometimes if the homepage of your website is really dialed in and you have an awesome website, it can work. I mean, if I land on the homepage and the homepage is amazing and I just say, wow, I love this place. This site's amazing. I can't wait to dig in. Well, then that can be an effective ad. If your homepage is overwhelming and let's say you sell lots of different things, you're gonna want to send somebody to a page that makes more sense. I mean, the big thing you have to remember about driving traffic somewhere is bounce rates are through the roof. I mean, bounce rates can be as high as 80%. So you want somebody, when they land on your page, you want them to stick, obviously.
Yeah.
So you've got to ask yourself two primary questions. Number one, do I understand what the heck I'm looking at when I land on your page? Instantly. Do I instantly know what this page is about? And number two, is it attractive enough to make me want to stay? One of the analogies I use for website design or landing page design is walking down the street of some beautiful city somewhere, and you're looking at window displays in the store windows. So if you're walking down the streets of Sedona, Arizona, the window display is going to catch your attention and cause you to go into the store. That's what your website homepage is all about. Does your homepage make a person want to go inside?
Yeah.
And that's really the question you have to ask yourself.
And are you using Shopify in most of your stores or another platform?
Yeah, actually, it's all over the place. I personally use, I have a WordPress site with WooCommerce. I have a lot of students that are using Wix. I have a lot of students using Shopify, Squarespace, pretty much anything. I mean, what you need is something that functions well. So the functionality has to be there. Mobile, it's got to function amazing on mobile. 85% of your traffic is going to be on mobile. But more important than all of those things, I mean, the functionality has to be there. But if your homepage sucks, you're going to be out of business. You really have got to think about, what does my homepage need to look like in order to get somebody to say, wow, and to get them to want to go deeper. And if you can do that, I mean, it's more than half the battle. Yeah. And I'll give you a better example. If you were walking down the street, you saw an amazing window display. It was so amazing that you're like, I got to go in this store. It's just absolutely what I want, right? And yet you can't find the door. You're looking around, you're like, where the hell's the door to this place, right? You're going to keep looking because you want to go in that store. So my point is, if your website is amazing, people will go the extra mile to figure out how to do other things. So if your website's a little clunky or a little confusing, they will get through that confusion because you built desire at the front end. And that's just so important.
I agree. And how do you okay, I want to build an amazing website. So what do you prioritize? Is it the design, the copy, the page loading speed? How do you prioritize? What are the most important aspects for you? And can you share some tips in order to improve them?
Certainly. Load speed is important because as it's loading, you don't get to see anything. So let's say you have amazing visuals, but I don't see them. So so I never stay. I just leave. So load speed probably is number one. Number two is aesthetic. Just what does it look like? What are you showing me? If you're a jeweler and I land on your website, I don't necessarily, I can see your jewelry. Your jewelry might be amazing, but the more important than your jewelry is something that would build desire in me. And so that would be your jewelry on a person. So a model wearing the jewelry. And the model, it's just like a mannequin in a store. You can go into a store and see a suit or a shirt or something in a stack on a table, or you can see it on a mannequin who's just, the mannequin is built the way you want to be built, and the suit looks amazing. Well, that builds desire. So it's all about desire. So one tip I would give you about a website is show a product in use, right? So if you're a painter, I want to see a painting on a wall inside of a beautiful room that matches the aesthetic of your customer avatar. If you're a jeweler, I want to see the same thing. What do your typical customers look like? Are they on the beach? Are they at an elegant dinner party? Put the jewelry on them in a setting that kind of gives me a little glimpse as to what it looks like. A perfect example is if you ever see a restaurant advertise its food, let's say a steakhouse. A steakhouse is never going to show you a cut of beef that's at the butcher shop. It's going to be cooked. It's going to be grilled to perfection. Steam is going to be right. There'll be a baked potato, asparagus, hollandaise sauce, a glass of wine, a candle on an amazing table with maybe a fireplace in the background. And all I'm trying to do is get you to come to my restaurant and order a steak. I put all those other things in that image to build desire. So it's about if you can build desire, And you do that with the right kind of images. And the most important thing is what we're trying to do when we're trying to sell somebody something, which we're trying to get them to take what we have and bring it into their life. And the best way to do that is to show it in somebody else's life.
Yeah.
The jewelry on a person, the painting on a wall, the steak on the table with someone sitting there ready to cut into it. That's how you build desire. And those are the most important things for a homepage.
I agree. Also for landing page, it's very important. And I think this trick is very common. I think also in real estate, that you do the staging. You never sell an empty apartment. You're always going to put like the sofas and all the furniture, because it helps the customer visualize and understand. It makes it so easy for him just to jump in. So
exactly, 100%. And the thing is, whenever you stage a place or you stage a room or you stage a photograph, the people who purchase will probably never match the beauty you created. And even if they don't match it, they're still happy with their purchase. And so if you leave it to your customer to try and imagine what it's going to look like in their life, they will not imagine the room the way you'll set up the room when you stage it. They won't imagine it as beautiful as you can do it. And so that it's so true. Staging is amazing. I mean, it's totally changed the real estate industry.
And it's also important, you said this, but I want to re-emphasize that you should think about your persona, your avatar, and try do the staging with the persona in mind, because I split tested like images with different models, but let's say I'm targeting older audience. So if the image was of an older model, the image is going to perform, the product page is going to perform way better. So even when you stage, you should also keep in mind exactly who is your avatar and stage accordingly.
Exactly. It's so important. In fact, a lot of times when I'm working with my jewelers, we will split test thumbnails. We use the same video, split test the thumbnail, and one thumbnail will be a younger person, one will be an older person, and we'll split the age. We'll take the ad set and duplicate the ad set and do a lower age and a higher age. So the targeting is the same. I'm targeting all the same interests. I split the age, split the thumbnails, the creative's the same, the videos are the same. And it's very important.
Do you have a method for doing this split test? Because I want to create a robot to do this, because it drives me crazy to do this all the time, and it's so important to test the scroll stoppers and the thumbnails. But do you have like a certain method, or you just do it manually?
I do it manual, and I do it based on cost per result. I'm just constantly looking at the data. The cool thing is, once I get something that works, it'll work. When I learn, for this brand, we've got to split the age. Some brands, you don't have to split the age. I have some artists that are selling pretty consistently from, 20 years to 65 plus. But most brands, you're going to have to break your age primarily to get the ad to spend where you want it to spend. Good example, I do a lot of marketing for, my daughters are both authors. So they have a lot of books that we market for. And they have readers from 13 years old to 65 plus. And so when I run ads with that age range, the ad spend always goes to the top range. And so the low age will absolutely buy, but there's not enough spend down there. So I have to split the age just to get the spend to happen.
And do you use these days auto bid or manual bidding?
I'm using auto bid. Yeah.
Cool, interesting. And you mentioned before that you have a long sales experience in like offline, face to face. And I was wondering what fundamentals you took from there and how do they show up in the online world? I mean, in the landing page, like what are the fundamentals that you took, and what significantly changed in online in opposing to the offline?
Right. Well, the key is, and you'll find this in all the stats when you look at internet marketing, and that is, to boil it down simply, organic sells, organic video sells, organic ad sell. The the more you look real and authentic, the better your ad's going to do, the better the reach is going to be, the better relationship you're going to have with your customers. And so I always knew that selling in the real world. I knew that when I was having a conversation with someone, first of all, I was passionate about what I talk about because I created it. It's like my little baby. I understand it. I've talked about it for years. And so every conversation I would have at an event would be really interesting. The person I was talking to was interested in what I was saying. I was actually interested in their feedback. All of it was genuine. All of it was real. All of it was authentic. All of it was organic. None of it was scripted. So you take that and bring that online. If you can do that, it's amazing. So a lot of times what happens with everyone online, even artists, even small brands, is they come online and they put on their marketing hat and they start writing sales copy like they'd never speak. And they put up images that are, stock photos and none of it's real. And, even though it might look okay, it doesn't feel right. And people sense that. And so, some of my best advertising are videos that I shot with my phone, that the lighting is horrible, the sound is okay, they're kind of jumpy. They turn into my best ads. Now I still produce other things. I'm always testing creative, but the bottom line is people want to connect with things that are real. And if you're an artist, if you're an entrepreneur and you're creating something, it's very easy as long as you don't put your marketing hat on. If you just bring who you are, what you do, why you do it, bring that to the internet to market with, you'll succeed with that. If you put a marketing hat on and you try and do it, you're going to have trouble. If you're not a creative, if you're not creating what you sell, you just have to understand that what you are doing is you're bringing something of value to the marketplace. And you genuinely care that the consumer, whoever purchases from you, has a good experience. And so that genuine authenticity, that genuine concern, that genuine passion about what you're selling, whether you're selling real estate or you're selling a book or you're drop shipping something, you can learn how to have passion about it. You can learn how to have a concern about your customers or a desire to bring something of value to them and learn how to put that message out in your marketing. And when you do that, it's going to win.
Yeah, I agree. And I also see a trend, like if 3 or 4 years ago, you could have run Facebook ads that seemed like a bit like commercials. Today, whenever you just upload a testimonial from a happy customer, it outperforms by tenfold. Like you can see 10% CTRs just from a shitty lighting, shitty sound, only a authentic testimonial.
Yeah, it's so weird. I've been blown away by that every single time, and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. I can't even use. I've had some where I'll let them sit on my computer for months. I'm thinking that's just maybe I can get them to redo it, and then I turn it into an ad, and it does amazing. I never would have guessed. Cool. So true.
Can you share a bit of like misconceptions? Artists come to you, they want you to teach them. Can you share a bit for, let's say, an artist is listening to this show, and what might be holding them back from creating a business online, and what are the misconceptions that you see very often?
Yeah, the biggest misconceptions I would put, there's a couple of categories. One is people believe that it's just way too complicated. There's so many different things you can do online from a marketing standpoint. How do I possibly know where to go, what to do, what's going to work? I'm just going to spend a lot of time and a lot of money and not get any results. And, and part of that, first of all, that's not true. Second of all, there are ways to figure out where to spend your time and what will give you the results. That's the whole reason I built my course. My course is about, I went through all these years of figuring it out. I figured out what works. And it's a very small, it's a narrow path for success. I mean, it's pretty simple once you figure it out. So finding someone that has gone before you and gone through the trial and error is a way to avoid a bunch of mistakes and a way to get on a narrow path. The second thing is a lot of people believe that they have something so unique, whatever it is, that it just won't sell online. And that's just, nothing could be further from the truth. There are so many different niches selling online. You just have to know how to do it. I I mean, what I teach my students to do is to basically, as best you can, replicate an in-person experience. And so there's all kinds of tools to make that happen. There's video, there's organic video, there's, scheduled Facebook Lives, there's email marketing to follow up with people. There are things that you can do that basically cultivate an audience. And when you do it right, I have better relationships with my online fans than I ever had in 35 years of in-person events. And the reason for that is every one of those events happen once a year.
Yes.
So I would maybe see the same person, a year later and a year later. And for the most part, I never saw a lot of the same people. I would see new people all the time. That's different. Online, I see the same people every day. If I go into my Facebook or my Instagram, I'm having conversations with people that I now have a 6-year relationship with. And that's a game changer. There is such a level of know, like, and trust that I can go online. I could go live right now and have 1,000 or 2,000 people on that live feed. I'm up to 106,000 fans on my Facebook page.
Amazing.
So it's just, you're building this community. These people really are connecting with you. And that connection is what makes all these sales happen. It's just absolutely amazing. So if you think you have something that won't sell online, you're absolutely wrong. I could sell anything online. I mean, anything. Your people are out there. If it'll sell to a human who lives on planet Earth, I can show you how to find that human. And usually it's thousands of them.
Can you give like an example or two of like really unique product that you sold or helped your students sell, even though they didn't believe they were sellable online?
Absolutely. I've got, let me take this.
Sure. No pressure.
I've got a student down in Texas, and she's an inventor, and she invented a mechanism that fits in the trailer hitch of a pickup truck. And it goes, you take your pickup truck and you go out in the field and you can pick up those big round bales of hay. And so typically a farmer or a homeowner or a rancher would need to have a tractor to do that. And so this will work on the back of a pickup truck. And so she came to me thinking, all right, how am I going to sell that? How am I going to find my customers? And it's so easy. I mean, I'm finding ranchers, we're finding small farms who don't have tractors, and putting the right kind of video in front of those people. So that's one example of a really strange one. I also work with a nonprofit, an orphanage in India. And so what they're doing is they're recruiting two levels for their advertising. One is for people to contribute to the orphanage. Okay, so that's really unique targeting. So we're targeting people who have sensitivities to helping educate younger children. They also have, sensitivities to orphanages and philanthropy and those types of things. And again, we're putting together really unique videos that are succinct, and they catch your attention and they get you to kind of come into this world. The second part for their marketing is they're looking for teachers. And so it's targeting a whole different niche. We're looking for young people who are interested in education, interested in educating children, want to be part of this. They want to be part of something that's benefiting others. And so that's a really unique niche that I'm working with and having tremendous success. I mean, it's amazing. When you put the right thing in front of the right people, everything that happens after that is just natural. It's just natural. I mean, if you think about anything you've ever seen online that made you go further, whether it's a documentary or it's an ad, or you watch somebody, play an amazing song and you decide, I gotta dig into this further. What happened was somebody put the right thing in front of you and it touched the place inside you that made you go deeper. And that's what marketing is. Marketing is trying to figure out, what can I put in front of my perfect customer that makes them want to come into my world? And when you get that right, and then you learn how to target, the targeting part actually is so easy because the tools are so accessible now, and the AI is so good. So what I like to do on the back end of Facebook is I like to combine strategy with the tools. And an example of that is to understand what the algorithm's looking for, understand what the AI's capabilities are. So I'll give you an example. I'll put like a 3 to 5 minute video together for a brand. I'll target that video to a perfect audience. I'll let the ad run for $1 a day for a month. And then I'll go in and I'll make a custom audience of everyone to watch 50% or more of the video. I'll take the custom audience, I'll make a lookalike audience. So now what I did is I kind of skimmed the cream off the top. I took those people, I asked the AI to make me a 2 million person lookalike audience, and now I'll send a video to them. And I might do the same thing. And so what you're doing is you're refining your audience with the people who are paying attention to your message. And you're asking the AI to do all the targeting for you. And that's really, really powerful. So it's strategy with understanding how to use these tools. If you just use the tools, what I've found is you'll get some results, but you won't get the kind of results that will blow up a brand. And so, when you start getting smart, you say, okay, you know what? If I do a Facebook Live and I do some preliminary stuff ahead of time so that when I pull off the Facebook Live, I actually get a lot of interaction. And I say the right things on the Facebook Live that gets a lot of interaction for as long as this thing lives on the internet. If I turn it into an ad and it's out there for 3 years, and if I tune into it tomorrow and I think it's live because of the way it looks, and if I start typing answers to questions because the guy who was doing the Facebook Live was smart enough to ask questions that stimulated my brain to want to hit my keyboard, well, now the algorithm 3 years later is still responding to your Facebook Live as if there's something amazing going on. And that just gives you, I teach my students how to get a $10 a day reach on a $1 a day budget. And part of that strategy is being smart about your content and your engagement. And it changes the game especially for small brands where, people come to me and they say, how can I make this work with a $1 a day budget? And the answer is, if you're smart, you can. If you know what you're doing, you can.
Yeah, this was exactly my next question, because today the CPMs are becoming higher and higher, and if you target broad in the US, it can be like $15 or $20 just the CPM of a broad audience. So I was wondering, what is like the minimal budget of, let's say, an artist want to start doing online ads using Facebook. So what is the minimal daily budget that you would suggest? And the second question, even though I try to not to ask 2 questions in the same time, but this is an exception. So you said you're going to put $1 for 40 days. Do you find it better than putting one day $40 and getting the results faster, getting the data faster?
Yeah, I like to have a span of time, because what I like to do is I like to look at a couple of things. I like to see if my numbers are getting better. Okay, so typically I'll go in, I'll look at 30 days, I'll look at 14 days, I'll look at 7 days, and I want to see those costs per result going down. Okay, and if I see that, then I know, okay, there's a couple of things working here. The audience was decent, the algorithm is working, and my numbers are getting better. And if they're within KPI, I'll keep that running. So I like to have at least a little bit of distance on time. I know I'm also impatient sometimes, so there are times I'll put an ad out, I'll put $100, $100 a day just because, and usually I can do that because I've learned some other things.
Yeah.
So if you spend the time to learn something, I'll have, if I go into my ad account, I do have lots of winning audiences. So I don't have to wonder, is this audience any good? I know it's good.
Yeah.
And I also have lots of winning creative. I don't have to wonder, is this creative any good? As far as the budget goes, you can absolutely get some solid results on $1 a day. The only problem with $1 a day is it only allows one ad set. So you're not going to be able to test audiences. So you need $1 a day budget per ad set. Now you can test several creatives, but an ad set needs $1. So typically I'll start my students, if they have room in their budget, to test 2 ad sets so we can quickly test your audience. And so $2 a day would be ideal. And you can get lots of results. You can actually get lots of traffic. And what I would suggest, if you're really low on budget and you want to instantly come up with a way to get a bigger reach for your spend, the simple thing to do is do a Facebook Live and turn a Facebook Live into an ad. That'll give you the biggest reach for your dollars. Okay. And if you're really smart with the live, and I have a whole strategy I teach, it's about an hour long coaching call that I did, all about the multiple things to do to make a Facebook Live insane. I mean, you literally, you could change a business. I could 10X a restaurant's business tomorrow, any restaurant on planet Earth, with this one strategy. And it's just about Facebook Live. It's just about doing Facebook Live the right way. It's amazing. And if you think about it, Facebook Live is free. I mean, you don't even have to, for a restaurant, you don't even have to turn it into an ad, because you're typically your geographical, reach of your restaurant, maybe 20 miles, and so I've often thought about just working with restaurant owners, and it's just amazing what they have at their fingertips that they don't realize.
You got me intrigued. Can you mind sharing a bit of tips and best practices about your live? I know I don't give out all the secrets, but some of the secrets.
Absolutely. It really comes back to understanding the algorithm. So you have to, it's a lot of these things are reverse engineer. So if you reverse engineer what's going on something that goes viral. So let's talk about a Facebook Live. What's the algorithm looking for? The first thing it's looking for is a lot of people that show up when you go live. So if you go live and there's a lot of people there, the algorithm says, wow, what's going on with this? And so you have to ask yourself the question, how do you get a lot of people to show up? And so that's planning. You plan ahead of time. If you have an email list, email. Okay, schedule a bunch of emails. Make the topic of the live something that makes them want to show up. Do a messenger blast. Do anything you can do. Plan the time of day so that most people are going to be available. Do anything you can do to get them to show up on time, okay? The very next thing the algorithm wants to see is engagement. So a lot of times, a lot of people know this already, ask people where they're tuning in from. And the reason you're asking them that is, and this is, this goes back to human psychology. So this is a lot of what I learned out in the real world. When I met somebody at a show, the first thing I would ask them is either, have you been to this show before, or where are you from? Are you from this area? And the reason you ask that is it's an easy question to ask, but the human brain wants to answer it. The human brain wants to talk about, I want to talk about myself. I'm from here or whatever. Okay. So when you ask, where are you tuning in from? First of all, people want to respond, and they'll respond 3 years from now. I don't care. You turn that into an ad and it's right. The people will be typing even when they know it's not live. That's how powerful the human brain is. They're going to type. When they type, the algorithm loves that. So it's like, holy cow, this video has everybody typing. And so that engagement is just key. And so what you've just done is you have set your Facebook Live up to get the biggest reach just by doing those two things. And then, there's other strategic things that I do in the live that kind of maximize people staying with me, people going where I want them to go from the live. There's some things you can do, getting people to share. And so you can pack a live with a lot of value. And when it works, I absolutely turn them into an ad. And I target different audience. They're just absolutely amazing. It's the most powerful thing you could ever do with Facebook.
Amazing. We should. I would like to invite you for another talk just to speak about Facebook Lives and how we.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, it would be a blast.
Cool.
Excellent.
But an interesting thing that I noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong, you help artists, but you're not necessarily selling their art. You're selling their artist. And their art is the byproduct of putting them in front of the audience. Is it correct?
Well, they're basically selling their art. That is their desire, and it is the whole reason for the marketing. But the key to selling your art is really growing that community, growing that fan base. And so that fan base is going to grow. It doesn't mean you have to go online and let everybody know everything about yourself, your personal life, what you had for breakfast and all that stuff. That's not what people connect with. What people connect with when they're going to purchase from you is they connect with what you're creating. So for example, whenever I went to shows, I would talk with people, and I do this online, about my passion about what I create. So what happens there is we have all these conversations about plants and about gardening and about those types of things. And so that's the connection. So they're connecting with me on my art level and not, and there's a little bit of personal stuff, but it's not about, a lot of people wrongly think that you have to go online and to be organic and real, you got to tell everybody everything. And that's not the case. It's about, why are they connecting with you? If it's about your restaurant, then you're going to talk about the restaurant, not about where you went on vacation.
Yeah.
If it's about, things that you paint or your photography, you're going to talk about that and your passion for doing that. And more importantly, how it affects them. So even though it's interesting for me to talk about why I do what I do, it's more interesting for my customer if I can relate everything to them. This is what it's going to, if you go back to our jewelry analogy, when you show jewelry on a model, what you're trying to do is get the customer to envision how they're going to feel when they're wearing what you created. So it's, you're going to feel amazing. You're going to feel elegant. You're going to feel in your element. You're going to feel, how are you going to feel? So that's another thing I would make sure a small brand understands is, even though your story and your passion is part of how people will connect with you, it's probably 30% or 25% of your marketing. The other percentage has to be about the customer and how it feels to have your work in their life.
I agree. I totally agree. The people want some sort of a transformation or reduction of pain, and you need to show them the solution, how you're going to solve the pain, or the thing that they are. So this is important, but they relate to you via the story. This is exactly what you're saying, basically. You mentioned, you spoke a lot about videos and leveraging Facebook ads during when you're media buying, but do you use the videos sometimes also in the website? Do you use like the video medium in the website as well?
I do. And the only thing I have to watch for there is load speed. So video is so valuable that absolutely on the website. It just, what we're really trying to do is the best job we can conveying a message that would be easy to convey in person. So how do you match that? The only tool available is video. So video is huge. It's, conveys several things. First of all, you can see dimension. So for an artist who's got a painting on a wall, if you can move around with the video, you can start allowing me to feel the dimension, see the texture. I have some artists that'll do extreme close-up with video. So you can see the texture of the paint on the canvas. And that's powerful because the only other way to see that is in person. And so video is, but the other thing video is doing simultaneous is people are listening to your voice. And they can hear your passion. They can see your sincerity. They're connecting with you, and that's happening subliminally or subconsciously. And so you're showing them a painting, but the way that you show them and the way that you talk about it is subconsciously allowing them to connect with you. And so video is really powerful for multiple things.
I agree. And which hosting platform are you using for the videos? Because I'm encountering this problem at the moment. I'm constantly trying to improve the page loading time on my WooCommerce stores, like everybody. And I was wondering if you're using Vimeo or Wistia or YouTube. How do you embed the videos?
I'm using Vimeo, and I also have on my on my WordPress site, I have a thing called Lazy Load. And so loading videos, I actually don't even understand how it works, but it helps the load speed.
Yeah, lazy loading, it doesn't load all the components of the website at the beginning when you're just clicking, but it's lazy loading. It loads gradually the page, so the page is apparent faster, but not all the components are ready. So normally people would lazy load the parts of the website of the product page that is lower. It's like the show more button if you use the show more button. So it's the same thing. Interesting. So cool. Very, very interesting. I love the fact that using the videos in order to show the customer like more angles and dimensions, because a lot of customers, they want to buy, but if you watch a heat map in my website, so I see they're clicking on the images, they want to see more angles and understand more stuff about the product, because if you're not offline and you can't touch the product, so it's kind of a friction. So you need to reduce this friction using, like you mentioned, not a lot of videos, because it's going to reduce the page loading time, but giving the customers the best feel of the product.
Right. And even if you're struggling with that load speed, and what I would encourage you to do is multiple images. Like you said, they're always going to click on the image. They'll look at almost every image you put up there. And then what you could do is put a video somewhere else so they can go to the video. Yeah. Because again, if you have someone who that window display made you go in the store, and then you got to go into the back room, and you got to go to another room, and then maybe out in the parking lot you get to see the canoe you looked at in the window. And you're going to do that because you design the website to pull a person through. And so if you can't put video on the homepage, make sure you have it somewhere, because they will go deeper. If you're doing everything else right, they will go deeper. Your true fans, your true customers will go deeper. So don't give up on video. If you can't get it on the landing page or the homepage, put it somewhere so they can get there.
Yes, some brands just put like a customer testimonial dedicated page with a lot of videos, and some brands also use, like in the email marketing, in the cart abandonment sequence, to customers didn't buy, but you still trying to convince them, you can send to them like links to testimonials and videos. It's just a way to try to convince them again if they didn't buy at the get-go. Interesting.
Exactly right. Yes.
Cool. A lot of interesting stuff, and video is very powerful, but the only downside is the page loading time, and I'll try to solve that.
Yeah, that really is the only downside of video.
Which hosting are you using for your WordPress website?
I'm using, oh my gosh, where is it hosted? I want to say GoDaddy, but I'm not sure. I let my web guy handles that.
Nice.
What do you use?
I just moved to, I've had Bluehost, and I tested SiteGround. I wasn't happy, and now I moved to Nexus, which they have a great support, but still the loading time are not as I want them to be. But maybe I'm just too cheeky, but I don't think so. Something needs to be improved over there.
Yes, I know a lot of my students are using Cloudflare. So that's, and also I have some that, I do have one site that's on SiteGround. So I use that as well.
Interesting. And do you have a lot of sites? How many sites do you have?
I've got, probably 3 sites right now. And so I have a site for my art business, and 2 sites for my coaching business.
Okay. So not a few e-commerce sites.
No. Now, in my family, I've got, like I said earlier, 2 daughters who are authors. So they each have a website for the books, which is interesting. That's a whole different world. They're selling from their sites, but they're also selling on Amazon and all the other, logical places.
See, because what I wanted to ask, but it's apparently irrelevant. How do you manage everything on the back end? Because I connect my stores using Zapier to have like one back end, but if you only have one e-commerce site, it's easier to, and not that complicated. Awesome. I want to start wrapping things up, and I want to ask you like a few rapid fire questions. First of all, do you have any books or resources that you're following, not necessarily marketing related, that you recommend or suggest?
There's a book out there that I love, and it's a few years old. Seth Godin wrote it, and it's called The Purple Cow. And I think he might have another title, which is The Power of Wow, W-O-W. And both of those books are amazing for really understanding. It's so important to, as best you can, wow somebody. That's why I always go back to the analogy of a storefront window. Storefront windows have been around forever. And the reason for the purpose of that window display is to make you say, wow, and then go in. It's all about wow, stop. I used to do that on the road with the booth I would design.
Uh-huh.
I would spend days building a booth for an art show, and
Oh.
the whole purpose was to make people go, wow,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a very first step. If you're in front of the right people, I go to an art festival, I'm in front of the right people. The very next thing I have to do is catch their attention. For marketing, and stop the scroll.
Exactly.
And how do you make them say wow?
Mm-hmm.
And so those books would be very helpful.
Awesome. Yeah, I love his stuff. He's so smart. He has
Oh my gosh,
so many great approaches to marketing, and he seems to be different. He seems to be different, more authentic and more ethical, more moral than most of the marketers out there.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Cool. What about maybe an app or software that you use or your students are using that are really improved your productivity or profits or just well-being?
Well, my go-to app for productivity is Text Expander. If you've ever used it, I can't live without it.
Uh-huh.
There's actually two apps that if these went out of my life tomorrow,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I can handle my business.
Okay.
Text Expander is one,
Uh-huh.
and the other one is Loom. I make Loom videos. I answer email with Loom videos.
Mm-hmm.
I can, my students will send me a question. I can crank out a Loom video in less time than I can just almost reply to an email. And so Text Expander and Loom have changed my business.
That's awesome. I always start working with Text Expander, but then it gets too messy and I can't keep it organized. So do you have a tactic for keeping it?
Oh my gosh, let me show you. Here's my technique for Text Expander. I've got,
Oh, wow.
I mean, look at this. This is Text Expander,
Nice.
right? And so that's like a cheat sheet on my desk. And then I can remember a lot of them. And then I can remember enough of them to search for them if I need them. But some of them are paragraphs.
Yeah.
A lot of them are links, links to very important things. It's just so important for me.
Great. This is awesome. Yeah, I use macros in Gmail. It's templates. It's kind of the same, but Text Expander is more powerful because you can use it anywhere.
Right. Exactly. And that's I use Text Expander when I'm on a coaching call. I'll use Text Expander to put things in the chat. So I do my coaching calls by myself. And so if there's a piece of valuable information I want to put in the chat, I don't have an assistant who can throw it in there for me. But Text Expander is basically my assistant. I know a lot of what I need, and I just put those in the chat right away. And and some of them are again paragraphs. And I think my students are like, how the hell did he type a paragraph?
No, we exposed the secrets.
That's right.
And what about Loom? Is it the free version or is it the premium version?
I think I'm using premium now, but I started with free, and it's just
what are the advantages of the premium one? Because I haven't moved to the premium one.
Probably storage or length of I think length of recording is the big one.
Awesome.
But Loom is just so amazing. I created a Text Expander to tell my students how to go learn how to do a Loom, and I asked them to send me questions on Loom. And I reply on Loom, sometimes right over their Loom. That's how powerful. I did that last night. I had a student, he's inside his ads manager account, and he was going through his targeting, and he's asking the question. I see the problem he has. I hit stop. I open up Loom. I record over his Loom to show him right on his screen what he's doing wrong.
I get that.
I send the answer.
So cool.
And literally, I probably did it as fast as I just explained it. It just saves so much time.
I love trying to be more efficient and effective. Yeah. But these are two very great and solid tools. So thank you for sharing this. Where can people get more of you? Maybe attend your lives or your masterclass, or approach you and hear more about your coaching?
Excellent. Well, I teach every week. I'm teaching a free masterclass, and the way to register for that is artistmarketingblueprint.com. So artistmarketingblueprint.com. That'll take you to a registration page for the next free masterclass. And you can, you'll find other links there that'll bring you to my website. But artistmarketingblueprint.com is the best way to connect with me.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. A lot of interesting stuff and a lot of stuff I'm going to think about, and I'm maybe going to re-download the text expander and write everything in the notebook. Yeah, exactly. And write everything in the notebook. Every time I have like a to-do list, every time I try to use like a project management software, maybe Asana or ClickUp or sometimes Google Spreadsheet, but every time I go back to the notebook to write like the to-do list. Yeah. So maybe
I think it's something about our brain, when you write something down, it helps you connect and remember it. And I'm a big one for notes and notebooks. It gets a little out of control sometimes, but
yeah. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
It was a pleasure being here. I appreciate it. And absolutely have me back. I'd love to talk about Facebook Live.
Exactly what I wanted to say. So I'm happy you brought this up. Okay. See you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.